And welcome to the 2017 debut of BuzzLine, the show all about Georgia Tech Yellow Jacket athletics. We're back now for our 11th year of talking Georgia Tech sports. I'm Jon Rawl, your gracious host, and as always, as I have done for 11 years, I'm joined by Jonathan Leifheit, publisher of GoJackets.com, and we have exciting news on this first show of 2017. We are not only back on the air, but we're broadcasting from Buffalo's Cafe in Cumming, Georgia. Jonathan, thank you for joining us once again.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a really exciting news. We haven't been able to do it really kind of on site before, so kind of having a sponsor and being able to do that. And on top of that, we're also doing this on Facebook Live.
We are.
So a whole new experience, a whole new world of media opened up. Now everybody gets to see my lovely face and your ugly mug, and we're all good to go.
You know, one thing you can't say about Jonathan, he is very honest. And he's definitely telling the truth there as far as my ugly mug. But we've got a beautiful environment. Got a Georgia Tech scooter here in the background. And we're going to just make this place all white and gold each and every week right here on BuzzLine. We got a lot to get to. We're going to talk about the upcoming game against Tennessee at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. We're going to talk apparel, as Georgia Tech just announced a new deal with Adidas that will take place next year. And we're going to talk about the 2017 season. Some things there, including the departure of a key player for Georgia Tech. All that right ahead on BuzzLine from CRM Sports. All right, Facebook Live, we're back. Going to get going now with our second segment of the show, and we'll talk about Buffaloes and take your question or comment. If you're currently watching us on GoJackets.com, send us the questions, comments. Jonathan, he gets to see you, and we'll interact. We're also going to have our Buffaloes Wingman of the Week, where we give somebody a lucky door prize here on BuzzLine. So stick around. We've got all that coming up now. This is BuzzLine from Buffalo's Cafe in Cumming, Georgia. We're back with our 2017 debut alongside Jonathan Leifheit, the publisher of GoJackets.com. Jon Rawl here talking all things white and gold. And let me tell you where we are in Cumming, Georgia, Forsyth County. Buffalo's, where everyone is family, is where we are. And this location in Cumming is located at 1175 Buford Highway, also known as Highway 20. And if you're coming north from Atlanta, from the Institute, it's exit 14 on Highway 400. Very easy to get off 400, come here on Buford Highway, and it's only about a quarter of a mile down on your left. A great location, unbelievable environment. As we said, this is a tech-friendly place, so if you're looking for that place that loves the Jackets, well, this is one of them for sure. And we'll tell you about some of the specials they have. You know, Buffalo's has 14 Metro Atlanta locations. So if you're not able to get to Cumming to see us when we record this each and every week, come by during the week. Or if, go to the other ones too. They'll be happy to see you and tell them you heard it on BuzzLine. You heard all about their location. So we'll have a lot of fun here on our first show. First off, Jonathan, our first show after many, many months off the air. How have you been doing, sir?
Not too bad. Hanging in there. We've had a good off season. Wife and I took a couple nice trips one out to Utah and Moab, another down to the beach as we usually do. So I think it's been a pretty good off season, and we're all rested and ready for the fall. I know my wife's not maybe looking forward to football as much as I am, but she's happy for me, and that's all that matters.
Well, I'm glad you got to travel. I'd never heard of Moab, Utah until the other day, and somebody showed me some video of them out racing go-karts or motorbikes or something crazy like that.
Well, there's probably a number of things. They do a lot of jeeping out there. They do a lot of all-terrain vehicles, and then it's kind of the mountain biking capital of the world.
Is it?
And we did a little bit of road biking. There's some great trails out out there and great roads to ride on, and it's just amazing scenery. So we really, really liked it out there. And my father-in-law has a Jeep that's all Mac Daddied out, and we had a great time climbing rocks and going all throughout the forest and stuff.
Awesome. Well, we want to keep in mind while we're thinking about it, about our listeners or viewers that might be watching this in places like Texas this week, as they've had Hurricane Harvey. We want to keep all those folks in our thoughts and prayers. You know, last year, right in the middle of football season, we had the hurricane come through coastal Georgia and South Carolina, and most of us got through that okay. So hopefully all that will get behind us soon, and it will come out everything as best as possible. All right, Jonathan, we're going to talk about this 2017 edition of the Jackets. And one of the key questions people have is the quarterback situation. Paul Johnson, as usual, not exactly very lengthy in his discussion on this topic. What can you tell us about the question mark at quarterback?
Well, it kind of going into spring last year, everybody indicated, including Coach Johnson, that Matthew Jordan, this is his job to lose. And then we get into spring practice, and what happens? He gets hurt, ends up missing the rest of it, ended up having surgery on his foot, and he was released early and then came back and started fall practice. Well, he's missed a few more practices, so what's happened is that competition's been opened back up, and the good news is when we talked to Coach Johnson back in the preseason at the ACC Media Football Kickoff, he said, I've got 4 quarterbacks I can go to war with. So you got Matthew Jordan, who's kind of the incumbent. He led Georgia Tech to that upset over Virginia Tech last year. Taquan Marshall has been at the position for the last 2 years. He was at A-back his freshman year. He's a junior. And then you got 2 freshmen. Lucas Johnson came out of San Diego, and he's got a lot of upside, and Jay Jones also. And from the way it's sounding to me and reading between the lines, I think Taquan Marshall's going to be your quarterback against Tennessee. And I think pretty good idea that Lucas Johnson's going to get some time too. So I think we've moved from a station where Matthew Jordan was likely going to be the starter going into spring practice to a point now where I'm not even sure he's going to make the 2 deep. So I think there's been some upheaval there, and I think it's going to be real interesting to see how it all plays out. But nonetheless, I think those are probably going to be 2 guys, and then if something does happen, then we obviously have Jordan, and we know what he can do, and we know that he's going to be fairly reliable.
Well, you say about Jordan maybe not even making the 2 deep. Is that because he's still hampered by his injury?
Well, it's kind of both. So he's hampered by his injury, so he's not on the field, which means he's not able to get better.
Okay.
So, and on top of that, he can't perform, as well. So when you're not on the field and you're not getting better, and the other guys are on the field and they are getting better, guess what happens? You're going to fall behind. And so when he comes back and isn't injured, which have been the case, Taquan Marshall's taken advantage of his reps with the number 1 team and made himself the quarterback. And so I think that Marshall will be the guy. Now, Coach Johnson, he ain't letting on 1 iota as to who his quarterback's going to be. So this is all us kind of reading between the lines and kind of trying to figure out what's actually going to happen. He doesn't want to give Tennessee any kind of indication of what's going on. So if you ask me, we'll see. Taquan Marshall end up starting, and then Lucas Johnson will get a snap or 2 or a series or 2 probably somewhere in that game, depending on how it goes.
So skill set wise, how much of a difference is there between these quarterbacks?
So if you kind of look at their size with Jordan, he's a bigger, stronger kind of kid, 6'2", I think he's about 210, 220. Marshall's a little bit smaller. He's not as small as a Justin Thomas or Tevin Washington, to kind of give you some idea, but he's still just a little smaller. And then Lucas Johnson is again another bigger body in the mix. So Marshall will probably not be as good as between the tackles as Jordan will, but on the other hand, I think he'll also be better on the edge than Jordan was.
Okay. Well, it's a question a lot of people have, and we're going to talk more about Tennessee later in the show, but hey, they got their own quarterback to replace him, Dobbs, who is now in the NFL. So I guess, have we heard definitively who they have at quarterback?
I haven't followed them yet. I was kind of looking to do some research on them this coming week to kind of get an idea. I thought that they had named somebody, and I don't remember who it was. But keep in mind is not only are they replacing their quarterback, but they're also replacing their offensive coordinator. So they brought in a completely new coordinator for this coming year. So not only is it quarterback, it's also their system that they're looking at. And now Butch Jones is known for his offensive prowess, but I think he's kind of moving to having somebody kind of check and balance what he does a little bit. So may not see a big shift from what they do, but it's certainly going to be a shift.
I'm sorry, I'm still haunted by the picture of Butch Jones in his high school band uniform. Have you ever seen that picture?
No, I have not. That would be great.
Did you know he was in the high school band?
No, I didn't.
Which, nothing wrong with that.
No.
But you don't think of a head coach being in the band in high school.
Well, yeah, that's interesting. and then on the other side, though, with Georgia Tech, Paul Johnson's one of very few players, very few coaches that never even played football beyond high school. So I guess that's going to be an interesting side to side there.
Well, I'm assuming Butch Jones didn't play football either if he was in the band in high school. Kind of hard to be in the band and be on the football team. But
yeah,
Google that sometime, folks, if you want a good laugh. It's a pretty funny picture of the Tennessee coach. And I think it is real. It's not a Photoshop doctored document, but something to think about when you're watching the game on Labor Day evening.
Well, there you go. Now I'm pulling it up to take a look at this, and wow, that's a well, at least he had the good taste to be a trumpet player. I'll say that.
Well, it could have been. I guess that is a trumpet. I played trumpet for a while until I got braces and I had to switch to baritone. We're talking Georgia Tech sports. If you want to reach out to us here, you're welcome to do that anytime. Our number to call or text is 803-816-1170, 803-816-1170. As we talk tech, you can go to gojackets.com throughout the week and get all the information you need leading up to kickoff. And we also put the show on gojackets.com if you have the desire to go back, watch it, view it, or hear it. All kinds of ways for you to access Georgia Tech Sports Talk each and every week on BuzzLine. We'll take a break, and a big personnel change with the roster for Tech in the last few days. Dedrick Mills off the team. We'll tell you about it coming up next on BuzzLine. All right, Facebook Live and folks on gojackets.com. Jonathan, I hope you have a way to see. Yeah, we had some comments here. We'll get to that here. Tan McKenzie, GT text in the house. I like that. Took me a second to read that one.
Yeah, Tan's an old friend of mine, so it's good to have him on there. I've known him for quite a while. I got to know him pretty well just as a result of the Hive. So he used to come out and actually see the band I used to play in play. So
we'll give him a shout out. I've been knowing Jonathan for over 10 years now, and he's just now letting me know he was in a band.
Right.
Which actually, I guess, elevates you a little bit in my book.
Yeah, I was a rock star, absolutely.
Okay, well, you know.
That was me rolling my eyes, by the way.
We're going to make you a Georgia Tech star, if nothing else. Also got a nice comment here from Rick Griswell. Who do you guys think will be the starting QB? All right, Rick, we answered that question if you're watching. So get us another one, or anybody else watching this on Facebook Live, let us know. We'll be happy to answer those questions. And, again, we're going to have our Buffalo's Cafe Wingman of the Week a little later, so stick around for that. All right, let's dive back into the show. We are back on BuzzLine, the show all about Georgia Tech Yellow Jacket athletics, alongside the publisher of GoJackets.com, Jonathan Leifheit. I'm Jon Rawl, and we're talking Georgia Tech, Tennessee, as the Vols and the Jackets get together to start the 2017 season in a few days, and we'll have a full preview of that contest as we continue on with this week's show. But, Jonathan, the big story in the last few days is the departure of Dedrick Mills from this team. He's a guy that we know has had some star player moments at times, but has also made headlines for the wrong reasons even before the last few days. So tell us about Dedrick Mills.
Yeah, so I believe it was a week ago Friday, we ended up getting the news broken that Dedrick was actually kicked off the team, and it was specified as a Georgia Tech Athletic Association policy violation, and I'll get to what that means in a minute.
Yes, thank you.
But from there, it was held a quick press conference to talk about it, but not a lot of information forthcoming on that. We've since learned that he's headed to Garden City Community College, which is out of Kansas. But regardless, he will not be back in a Georgia Tech uniform. So now last year, you may remember that Mills ended up spending 3 games out. He ended up with 2 what we'll call football policy violations, and I say that just to distinguish that from a Georgia Tech Athletic Association policy violation. From what we know, it was related to some study halls and some timing for practice, but he ended up being out for 3 games. First violation was 1 game, second violation was 2 games. Now we're being told that he's out for an athletic association policy, which means it's probably more related to some kind of behavior or something he's done. We really don't have good information as to what it is, but this was clearly a significant violation of some sort because, skipping study hall or missing a practice or being late to practice is not going to be, warrant being tossed out on a 3rd strike. So we really don't know what he did, but it was obviously a pretty significant violation on his part. So hopefully Diedrich, who by all accounts is a fantastic kid, got his head screwed on pretty straight, but he just seems to make these lapses in judgment, and hopefully he can get his kind of act together and do the right thing all the time. It's funny because we had some audio from Diedrich during the preseason, and he talked about, I got to do better, I got to stay on the straight and narrow, and I got to do this stuff. And I think I remember Rod's comment back to me was, I think he's got his head screwed on straight. Well, apparently he again made a mistake, and this time it was a big one, and off he went. Yeah. So it's not good. So that leaves Georgia Tech with a pretty significant gap there at B-back, and now we got to figure out who's going to play.
So who is the next in line at B-back?
Well, so there's a number of candidates. The first one that is probably going to start out will be Cravante Benson. He is a redshirt freshman out of Marietta. Goes about 210. Behind him, you've got Quade Weimerskirch, and say that a few times.
Will that name fit on the back of the jersey?
I think it does because he did play some last year. So he plays, and then you have an incoming freshman named Jerry Howard. And so today it looks to me like Benson will be the guy, and he's had some good scrimmages. He has missed a little bit of time, and I do worry about whether or not he has the durability to kind of take that pounding all year long, but he'll be your guy for to start out the season. And then I think there's a battle going on for the number 2 position. Jerry Howard came in as a true freshman over the summer and really, really impressed a lot of the players with his size and quickness and what he does. I think Weimerskirch and him are going to battle it out, but I think all 3 of them will get significant playing time, and we'll see kind of who's the most durable and who's able to kind of win the thing out as the course of the year goes. But to start against Tennessee, it'll be Cravante Benson. Okay,
so you got the changes as you always have entering a new season. Remind me before we forget some of the great things Diedrich Mills did. Was it the North Carolina game last year? Where he was really a stud in one of those mid-season games.
Well, he was pretty good against Georgia as well. He did it. Him and Marcus Marshall, I thought, had one of the best games together. And by the way, there's one right there. Marcus transferred out because he didn't want to be the guy that was second string behind Diedrich Mills. Yeah, that was the I
thought you were talking about the quantum leap. I mean, he may not have had the more yardage in that Georgia game, but he was the hero at the end.
Yeah, Quay Searcy was the hero, but Mills scored, I believe, at least 1 touchdown, and he had a lot of tough yards that he ran for, so he was able to keep them soft. But that, and he also scored the winning touchdown against Boston College early on, so he had a really good season. Ran for 771 yards all total, and I would have expected to see him double that had he stuck around.
Yeah, amazing. We're talking 18 to 22-year-olds here, and sometimes they make decisions that they regret, but, hey, we all sometimes make decisions that we regret.
All I can say is thank God the Internet wasn't around when I was 18 to 22. So.
You sure? Al Gore hadn't invented that thing yet?
Well, there was no Facebook. There was no social media. All we had was regular pictures and not a lot of those, thank God.
And they were Polaroids. Speaking of social media, I want to remind everybody you can go to our brand new Facebook page, and that's facebook.com. GT BuzzLine is the Facebook account for this show. Of course, Jonathan, you've got your own Facebook page for GoJackets.com.
There is also a Go Jackets, a Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets on Scout page that we've also are streaming this on, and then of course we also have the GoJackets.com forums, which both the premium side and the regular side, we're streaming it on that as well.
And of course, there's been some changes with your website, I think, since we were on the air last, with the change to CBS Digital.
Correct. We, as a lot of people might have followed the saga, it's been ongoing. It was ongoing for about the last year. Jim Heckman was the CEO of Scout, and he was ousted by their board. And then ultimately they attempted to kind of recover some of the bad decisions he made, and then finally ended up going to auction, and we are now owned by CBS. I actually think their name is CBS Interactive is what we're called. So if you're familiar with 247 Sports, we are now we're currently a co-branded Scout 247 type of thing, and now that will be moving to 247 exclusively here in the coming months as soon as we get some of the technology ironed out. So we will be the Georgia Tech affiliate for 247 at the end of the day.
Was there already a 247 affiliate for Georgia Tech?
Well, there was a site there, but there was no publisher, and it was not an actively managed or actively published site. So I won't have to deal with that kind of a transition. Although there are some folks out there that were part of Scout that they'll have to kind of combine with their compatriot on the other side.
Interesting.
So,
all right. Well, again, more reasons for you now more than ever is the start of a new season to go check out GoJackets.com. All right, we'll take a timeout here from Buffalo's Cafe, Cumming, Georgia, and come right back and dive into the 2017 season. What does the great Jonathan Leifheit, what does he have in mind for the way this season's going to work out? We hope it's all good news, and we'll tell you about it right after this on BuzzLine from CRM Sports. All right, Facebook Live, we'll get going. 2017 season is our thoughts. And if you, on Facebook Live, if you have your own thoughts, let us know. We want to hear what you have to say. Before we dive into 2017, last year, of course, so many highlights. Of course, the bowl win, the win over Georgia, and pretty darn good season. Maybe not as good as an Orange Bowl, but still, overall, anytime you beat Georgia and you win a bowl game, that's been a pretty good season.
Yeah, I agree, and I think building off of that is really important now for this team. You listen to like Keyshawn Freeman, defensive end, and some of the other senior leaders, and I think the one thing that they emphasized all offseason was we can't have a drop-off. It seems like we look back and we had 2009 where we won the ACC, went to the Orange Bowl, and followed that up with a 6-7 record the next year. Then you've got a couple years ago, 2014, another great year, finished top 10 in the country, and what do? We followed that up with a 3-9. Now, granted, a lot of injuries that year, but still, 3-9 is not an acceptable record. So I think the big thing is we got to get to a point where there's more consistency. When they win 9 games, they can't follow it up with 6 or 7. They need to follow it up with 9 or 10 again.
All right, sounds good. We're going to dive into this segment here, a lengthy discussion about the schedule and Jonathan's concerns, thoughts, etc. All right. And welcome back to BuzzLine from Buffalo's Cafe, Cumming, Georgia. 27 sets, TV sets, are in this building right now. So there is not one bad set for you to watch your favorite game. If you're wanting a great place to watch the Georgia Tech-Tennessee game on Labor Day night, and if you're not going to be at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, check it out. Come here to Cumming. This is a Georgia Tech bastion, and we would love to see you here as we talk Tech each and every week here on BuzzLine. Of course, Buffalo's has 14 Metro Atlanta locations. The website is buffaloes.com. And if the TVs aren't enough to get you off your couch and come here on game day, Jonathan, there's more than 14 beer selections here with craft beers included.
There you go. I mean, what more could you ask for? TVs and beer.
TVs, beer, and great food and a friendly staff, all right here at Buffalo's Cafe. All right, 2017 is the year, and Georgia Tech's coming off a season last year that included a win over Georgia. And by the way, what's the good word?
To hell with Georgia.
All right. And, of course, a Tax Slayer Bowl victory over the Kentucky Wildcats included last year, but you have to take 2016, put it in the file, and you've got a blank sheet of paper to start this year. So we're going to look at the schedule now and get Jonathan's thoughts, and we welcome your thoughts as well on BuzzLine if you're watching this on our Facebook live broadcast or listening to us on one of our stations across Georgia. We value your input. Just go to our Facebook page, GT BuzzLine, or check us out on the web as well. All right, Jonathan, first game Tennessee. We're going to break that game down in more detail coming up before we get out of here this week, but quickly a glimpse of what you expect in that one.
Well, I think probably I think you're going to see two offenses that may struggle a little bit. I mentioned that Tennessee has a new offensive coordinator, new quarterback, so I don't think they're necessarily going to be in sync. And then Georgia Tech usually takes a game or two to kind of get the option going, plus they've got a new quarterback and a new B-back. So I think this could probably be a low-scoring affair, and I think Tech's defense really needs to come up. We talked about the amount of returning talent they have. They're expected to be better. They need to show it.
Okay. All right, well, again, we'll talk more Tennessee in a moment. Jacksonville State is the opponent in Week 2. The Gamecocks have already had a game. They defeated Chattanooga in Montgomery in the FCS kickoff game. First time they've ever had a kind of bowl game atmosphere for FCS, and the Gamecocks came out, looked good. Of course, they got a new starting quarterback there in Jacksonville, Alabama. And Chattanooga had a last-minute change with their quarterback, so it's not fair to totally attack the Mocs on their performance in Montgomery. But Jacksonville State, they've been giant killers before. They defeated Ole Miss in 2010, I think it was, and they took Auburn to overtime. So this is not a game to overlook.
No, it's not. And I think the scariest aspect of this game is really less about Jacksonville State than it is about Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech is playing Monday night at 8 o'clock. And now they're going to follow that up with a 12:30 game on Saturday, and Jacksonville State will have the benefit of the full week to recover and get ready for Georgia Tech. Meanwhile, Georgia Tech will have just from basically Tuesday through Saturday to get ready. So there's going to be, I think this one kind of puts a little trepidation in my heart because when you have a short week like that and the other team doesn't. I think your legs may not be quite there, that type of thing, especially so early in the season. So that one makes me nervous. Obviously, on paper, Georgia Tech is it would be a complete mismatch, but I think this short week could make that a little more compelling than maybe we'd like.
And the Gamecocks are going to have a really long week because they're not going to be playing, I don't think, this coming weekend.
I believe that's right. So they'll have 2 weeks to get ready and sharpen them up. So. And most teams make their biggest improvement from the first to the second. And given that they had a long week, I think that could be a little more interesting than maybe us Tech fans like.
And I don't want to put you on the spot, Jonathan, but I know where you grew up. Are you an alumnus of Jacksonville State?
No, I'm not, but I have a lot of friends that are.
Did you ever go to any kind of summer school there?
I actually went to a lot of music type of stuff there.
Okay.
And I had tons of friends who ended up going there. Jacksonville State was a mere 30, 40-minute ride from Cedartown.
I figured at some point you'd taken at least one summer school class there.
No, I never took any there. There was an actual junior college just up the way in Rome, so I took some stuff there. but never at Jacksonville State. The out-of-state tuition even then would have killed me. But, man, I actually, during college, spent a couple of weekends there with some friends and had been over there, and I knew, they're renowned for their this Marching Southerners, their band, and I had a lot of friends in that, and then I also had friends that were other ones. Matter of fact, I saw some of them last night. So,
all right. Well, that sounds fun. All right, now the step up in competition after Jacksonville State. You got the Central Florida Knights on the schedule. Of course, George O'Leary was their head coach for a number of years. He's now retired.
He has retired, and I think this game probably, given the context of everything, is a lot of people will call it a trap game. It'll be on the road. I believe it's a 6:30 game down in Orlando. So I actually feel pretty good about this one. I don't think that they have what it takes, and I think Georgia Tech will probably be ready to go for that one, particularly if they have a close call against Jacksonville State.
Well, of course, the Knights had a really stellar year when Bortles was their quarterback. I think they went to the Fiesta Bowl, if I'm not mistaken.
They did.
And then they followed that up with, I think, an 0-12 season. And
something like that.
They lost to Furman.
I think they're still kind of rebuilding from some of that, but they could be dangerous. They'll certainly be hyped up. They don't get a Power 5 conference team in their stadium very often, so I can guarantee you the students will be ready. I'm sure, given that it's a night game, I'm sure they will be well lubricated by the time the game starts.
I think it's still the second largest university in America, the University of Central
They're huge,
Florida.
And it's largely a commuter school, but still they have a lot of students there.
All right, maybe the number one is University of Phoenix, but that's not even a real school.
Yeah.
Okay, Pittsburgh is the opponent. September 23rd, the Jackets come back home for a matchup against the Panthers.
Yeah, Pittsburgh has been kind of a thorn in Georgia Tech's side. They have lost the last two, both kind of in the last minute. These have been really, really tight games. I would expect nothing less than that. Pat Narduzzi's a pretty good coach. He does a pretty good job. We'll see kind of how he handles. He hasn't necessarily stopped the triple option very well, but he has been able to put an offense out there that scored a lot of points. So this game will probably be one of those games that will kind of tell the tale on how this season goes. It's a swing game. It could go either way. If Georgia Tech's able to come out on top, probably bodes well.
All right. So this game against Pitt, I wasn't the biggest fan of them coming into the conference a couple of years ago, but I think they've done pretty well. They knocked off Clemson last year, and their other sports, they bring a nice addition. That's a good academic school there in western Pennsylvania. I just don't like the fact that their colors are too close to Georgia Tech.
Well, they have the blue and gold thing going on, but all in all, I think they were a pretty good match, kind of coming into the ACC. I know some people groused a little bit about that, but if you look back historically, they've got a great legacy in terms of success. Tony Dorsett, Jackie Sherrill, led that team, and Johnny Majors was there as well. Johnny Majors took them to the national championship, so they've got some history there and a pretty good program. I'm still trying to get up there to see to see a game at Heinz Field, but I've been told that is a fantastic venue to watch a game in.
All right, the Jackets back the game against Pitt up with another home game against the UNC Tar Heels. Your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, UNC has had Georgia Tech's number the last 3 years. Larry Fedora came in, and Georgia Tech had won something like 14 of the last 16 prior to Fedora, and now Fedora has managed to turn the tables on that. And last year's game was not even close. It was pretty much a butt whipping. The previous two to that could have gone either way. But Georgia Tech has to find a way to get it done against UNC. They have not done a very good job of stopping the UNC, that spread. I guess they call it the Fed spread or whatever it is that they refer to it as. But with them having a new quarterback, it'll be interesting to see how that performs this year. Their defense has traditionally been pretty bad, even with Gene Chizik, who's now left the program and retired. So Georgia Tech is going to have to outscore them. They'll have to get with them early and often, and don't let them get ahead, because otherwise they'll just grind it out on you.
All right. A week off in early October, and then, Jonathan, the famous Thursday night game. In this case, it's going to be a road game against the Miami Hurricanes.
Well, I'll say this much. As much as I hate Thursday night games, at least it's not a home game. So in this case, we're on the road, and quite honestly, it'll be kind of good for me, because I'm planning to go down to Fort Lauderdale and hang out the rest of the weekend. So me and my wife will have a good time. So from that perspective, but On the road at Miami, this is another place that Georgia Tech has really struggled with. Paul Johnson has not won in Miami. I think the last time Tech even won down there was probably 2007 under Gailey. They had some success under Gailey, did a good job. Miami has really owned them the last few years. The only win in I think in the last 4 years was 2014. Last year they had that horrible series where we had, I think it was two consecutive plays where there were fumble returns for touchdowns, something along those lines. It was pretty much over before it even started at that point. Miami is going to have a very, very good team. Mark Richt has done a great job down there. I think their only big question is who's their quarterback going to be. They have a veteran guy. Shouldn't say veteran, but they have a junior who hasn't started, and then they have an all-world freshman that they're trying to push as well. So, and their defense, Shaq Quarterman and the linebacker and a number of others there, they have a really, really good defense. This is going to be a very tough game. I would rate this one or the Clemson game the two toughest games on the schedule, and I'm not sure which is tougher.
All right, that's the first 6 games on the schedule. Let's quickly go through the back half of the schedule, Jonathan. A team that the Jackets just don't play very much nowadays because of the realignment of the conference from the Atlantic Division. The Wake Forest Demon Deacs, they come into town on October 21st.
Yeah, they'll be in for homecoming. They've been improving and better. They're not going to be an easy out, but they should. I mean, given that this game's at Georgia Tech, this should be a win.
All right. Of course, the Jackets play at defending national champion Clemson on October the 28th.
Never an easy place to play. I mean,
Okay.
Tech has had some success there, and they won't be intimidated. But let's face it, Clemson has got things rolling up there right now. Dabo's done a great job.
All right, the Jackets will then go to a very quiet place, Charlottesville, Virginia, for a November 4th game against the Cavaliers.
Yeah, they will pack up our Zima, which I think they reissued, and head up to see them. Bronco Mendenhall had a pretty rough year last year, and to be perfectly honest, I'm not sure it's going to be any easier this year for them. So this is a game that, when you talk about road victories, Georgia Tech, they should win that one.
All right. A game at home against Virginia Tech, a team that has had Georgia Tech's number, but last year was a great win for Georgia Tech. And let's talk about this game in Atlanta.
Yeah, so Virginia Tech surprisingly lost their quarterback. Last year, Evans took off and went pro. So they'll have a typically stout Bud Foster defense. If they can get a quarterback, they'll be a tough out there again. So, but it's interesting if you go back and look. I believe that every home game that Georgia Tech has had on a Saturday against Virginia Tech, they've managed to win. When it's been an away game, I think when it's been a Thursday night game, not so much. Well, this year we got them on Saturday. I've been just grousing about that fact for years, that we always end up playing them on Thursday. Finally, we get them on a Saturday. I think the last time we had them home on a Saturday might have been 2009, which was a great day for Georgia Tech fans.
All right, last road game of the year is a November 18th appearance in Durham against the Blue Devils.
Yeah, again, this is a lot like Wake Forest. David Cutcliffe has done a great job up there. Daniel Jones, their freshman, I should say sophomore quarterback now, fantastic player. If they can, this is always a kind of a tough place to play. They've got a little better crowd support than they used to, but it used to be like playing in a mausoleum. And and that's tough. A lot of players feed off that energy, and if there's no energy, they got to self-motivate. But very, very quiet atmosphere. But Cutcliffe's done a great job. They'll be solid. They'll be well coached, and it's not going to be an easy game by any stretch for Georgia Tech. But again, I think they can win that one.
All right, and of course the season finale against the Georgia Bulldogs, November 25th at Grant Field.
Well, I mean, I don't have to say too much about this one. Clean old-fashioned hate. Georgia Tech has now won 2 of the last 3. I say that with pride. And last year's comeback, that being down 13 points, headed to the fourth quarter, 14 points in the last 6 minutes, topped off by the quantum leap that we talked about earlier. Awesome. I really don't know what to expect out of them. Kirby Smart's in year 2. They've got Jacob Eason, who'll be sophomore starter now. Usually quarterbacks get better. But I don't necessarily know what we have in those guys yet. It'll be I think it'll be a while before we know if Kirby Smart is just an also-ran or if he's a pretty good coach or somewhere in the middle.
All right. So, Jonathan, if I put you on the spot, 12 games on the schedule, what kind of season are you expecting?
I would put the over and under probably in the 8 to 9 range. Okay. I think there's you look at the Clemson and Miami games; those are going to be very, very tough. And then a number of toss-up games, including Pitt, UNC, Virginia Tech. I think that'll kind of put in there. And Tennessee, I'll put in that category as well. So if you ask me, I'd put probably over under at 8.
Okay, I think I heard you say 9.
8 or 9.
Okay, 8.5. They're going to win 8.5 games this year.
There you go.
All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, hey, something I love to talk about. In fact, I'm going to go out to the car and bring it on my own, dose of apparel to spice up the show. Jonathan's sitting here wondering what in the world am I talking about. But you'll see on Facebook Live, and we'll tell you all about Georgia Tech's new athletic apparel deal with Adidas right after the break here on BuzzLine. All right, Facebook Live, stay with us. We'll be right back and get into apparel talk. Questions, comments, let us know. All right, check this here.
And
perfect. All right. We're going to go with Coach Josh Pastner. All right, Facebook Live. We've got 2 more segments here. We've got a couple Jacket fans who've made the trek over here to join us this week, and we thank you. And, of course, everybody watching us, listening to us, please come see us. We do this broadcast now, except for next week. We're going to do it every Sunday at 5:30 p.m. at Buffalo's Cafe in Cumming. The reason we're not doing it next Sunday is because the Jackets play on Monday. Monday Night Football. Where's Howard Cosell when you need him? The Jackets in Tennessee. And so we will be back. Our next Facebook Live broadcast will be the night after the game. It'll be on Tuesday, September
4th. 5th. Excuse me.
Will be when we are back with you. And then After that, we'll be doing it on Sundays from the rest of the way. But because of the weird Monday game, we're going to have to do our second show on a Tuesday night. Jonathan is a working man, so we appreciate you going the extra mile to come do a show after you get off to work.
Yeah, I'll be here. I'm just down the road from my office, so it shouldn't be a big deal.
All right, well, we appreciate you doing that, Jonathan. All right, we're going to get into it. We've got some audio from Coach Josh Passner talking about Tech's new apparel deal. So here we go.
Well, before we go, we have another question, and Mr. Mackenzie Tan has asked us if we're selling beer for the Tennessee game. I must know. The answer is yes. There will be beer.
Here at Buffalo's?
No, well, they'll certainly sell it here, but at the actual game, yes, there will be beer.
Okay, good. All right, well, that's good to know. Beautiful stadium. I know it's great for Georgia Tech to have true home games, but, hey, if you're not going to be able to play at your home field, this is a pretty good option.
Absolutely.
All right, here we go, folks. And we're back with BuzzLine from Buffalo's Cafe in Cumming, Georgia. I'm Jon Rawl with Jonathan Leifheit of GoJackets.com. That is the spot to go to as you get ready for the Tennessee Vols on Labor Day night. We're going to preview that contest in just a minute. We've got our Wingman of the Week here in the audience, and we've got a special for him for showing up here and having a good question. So we're going to put him on the spot. And
well, before we say he has a good question, let's actually hear the question.
Well, okay, we'll stay tuned. We'll get to that. You know, that we'll put that at the end of the show just so we can get out of here if it's a bad question.
Yeah.
All right, Jonathan, we're going to talk apparel now. That's a subject you and I have debated for years, and you really tried to stay away from it, but we're going to talk about it. But I feel left out, so I've got to bust out my own apparel. Are you ready for this? You ever watch the Masters?
I have.
You know, good Georgia Tech man started that.
Absolutely.
Well, I've always wanted to win a green jacket, but I've realized that's probably not going to happen.
Okay.
But what I do have is a gold jacket, and I'm going to slip it on now.
Good, because it probably wouldn't fit. That's actually not bad.
All right, fat man in a little suit.
That actually isn't bad.
This is a coat I had to put on because it's a yellow and white seersucker, and I only have a couple more days to wear this thing to be fashionably sound. And by the time we do our next show, it'll be after Labor Day. So I got my yellow seersucker with my gold and navy pocket handkerchiefs here, and so now we can talk apparel, and I don't feel underdressed.
Okay, well, I'm still a bit underdressed. All right. You really need to get me one of those.
Well, I will. I'll do my best. So hopefully this isn't too much for the camera. Jonathan, Adidas and Georgia Tech are going to be partners starting in 2018. What do you know about that?
Well, so most Tech fans have really been, and one of the reasons I hated talking about apparel was because, let's face it, the Russell deal that we had in terms of the apparel provided and the publicity provided was a real downer. I mean, they did a good job of outfitting Tech, and they've been there for years and years, but the landscape has changed, and Russell has become more of a, what I'm going to call almost a wholesaler, but not really a wholesaler. They're not really a forefront, and so the selection of stuff that they had was really just not that great. Mm-hmm. And the other piece to that is when you start to look at recruiting and you start to see that Adidas, Nike, Under Armour are sponsoring teams not just in basketball, but even some of the 7-on-7 leagues and that type of thing. Now your apparel provider has an impact on your recruiting. So now Georgia Tech has announced their ending. It'll be next July when the Russell deal ends, but now we have in place a deal with Adidas. Will last, I believe, 6 years. They haven't disclosed the financial terms on that, but we'll get that probably after 90 days based on the Freedom of Information laws. But really great move, in my opinion. This is exactly what Georgia Tech needed to do. We should see better selections on the shelves for Georgia Tech fans. Lots more of that. We'll also see better marketing. Adidas will utilize Georgia Tech's brand as part of its marketing campaigns. They're actually also building a high-tech plant here up in North Georgia that they should be able to do some things and spotlight Georgia Tech locally. So I think it's a great partnership, and I think it'll pay a lot of dividends that perhaps Russell just couldn't do. That just wasn't what their corporate mission and how they did things to do. And then on top of that, I'm kind of excited about the product that we'll see on the field in terms of or on the court, the types of uniforms that we get. I'm hoping to keep it fairly traditional, but that's just me and probably a lot of Tech fans. But I think there's room for innovation, and there's room to do some different combos using historical Georgia Tech uniforms, or even some variations on what they do today.
Well, I'm looking forward to maybe Adidas introducing the white and gold seersucker to some of the uniforms. That'll be a neat thing, don't you think?
Yeah, just for the coaches.
All right, well, Josh, speaking of coaches, Josh Pastner had a few comments about the new deal. Let's go in and hear Coach Pastner being interviewed by your compatriot at GoJackets.com, Rod McKenzie.
What is your overall viewpoint of what is happening?
I think it's great. I mean, it's you got to give great kudos to obviously Todd and his team, and you got to give great kudos obviously for Adidas for partnering with us. And we're really excited, and it's going to be great things ahead. And it's a Fortune 500 company name, and so you're associated with that, which is a great thing.
Actually, we've talked before about the effect of shoe companies on recruiting. I imagine this is
grassroots in the grassroots world, and especially for men's basketball.
Right.
I mean, gear and apparel and all that stuff matters, and there's probably no more sense of any sport out there where the shoe brand is involved in grassroots basketball, and that's more evident in anything than it is in men's basketball. So being partnered with such a strong ally and such a national name and a global brand is not only great for us on the upper levels, but also in the grassroots world too.
Without mentioning any names, the timing's pretty good for you.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's better to have that be announced, today than 6 months from now. So we're really excited and happy about it.
Now, question: Do you have a personal contract with one of the companies now? Is that the way it works for coaches?
Yeah. Well, no. I just do. I work whatever Todd Stansberry tells me on my contract. I do. He's the one who signs off on it.
So the transition is not a.
That's all through Todd's in charge.
Have you had a chance to talk to your players about this, or?
Yeah, they knew about it from last night from the welcome back deal, and they were all really excited.
And that was Georgia Tech head basketball coach Josh Pastner talking about the new apparel deal with Adidas. Again, not taking place until 2018, so I can't wait to go out and get loaded up with all kind of neat gear.
Yeah, and there will be lots of things I think that you'll see in the coming year. They'll start to roll things out and give some publicity and show some of the new uniforms and stuff. They may not make it to production, but this stuff, in order to outfit them for the 2018-19 year, they got to start designing now and get that stuff into the pipeline. So we'll start to see stuff probably after the beginning of the year.
Good times. All right, as we go to break, I want to tell you about 85 Roof. If you have a roof in need of repair, for estimates on roof work, painting, siding, gutters, and the home exterior, call Joel Thompson at 404-750-3616. Again, 404-750-3616. 85 Roof, bringing reliability and affordability to you. 85 Roof. We'll take a break, come right back with the wrap-up of our first show from Buffalo's Cafe in Cumming. This is BuzzLine. All right. We can do that. Talk to the Facebook for just a second and answer any of these questions that come up.
All right, Facebook Live. Let's see here. Is Curvante at 100%? Thanks for another question from Tan. Yeah, I believe he is. He's been practicing. Coach Johnson, all of his post-workout comments indicate he's been playing pretty well. So my bigger question is, can he stay at 100%? So we'll see how that goes. He's been a little fragile at times, but hopefully now that he's had a redshirt season behind him, he'll be able to do that. So he's there. Let's see. No matter what shade it is, Tech Gold will always be the official color. Debates of decades of debate will end, right? No. It'll be interesting to see what happens with the gold color and what kind of standard they end up with from that perspective. All right, I'm not sure that we want to put him on the actual Facebook Live. You don't
trust me.
No, I don't trust you. I know you.
You should, exactly. I'm going to do whatever Tam McKenzie tells me to do.
Oh, gosh.
And we know what kind of trouble he's in.
Yeah. Yeah, we're setting ourselves up for disaster here.
I hear you.
You hear me?
Yes. Test 1, 2, 3.
All right, I've got my finger on his thing so that if we need to cut him off real quick, we can do that.
5 by 5. Go about Mike. Yeah, Mike. Yep.
Just call him Gold Timer.
Now, you're with the West Lanier?
Alpharetta West Lanier Network. Yep.
Alpharetta.
West Lanier Network, which is what this is here.
Yeah, and he's probably going to try and plug himself, for real estate since that's what he
Gold
does.
Mike?
No.
Don't say.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Just call him Mike.
Okay. All right, Facebook Live. We've got a few folks that have come out, so we're going to give them a nice little happy. In fact, let me have that back. You have that card on you? I don't remember what it said.
I think it said free me.
There we go. Make sure you get this back from me before you leave. All right. And I need to cut your mic up there. All right, we're starting back with our final segment now. And welcome back to the final segment of BuzzLine on this first show of 2017. Jonathan, been a lot of fun having you here.
Yeah, this has been an interesting experience. As we mentioned, we've usually done them in studio, first time on site, and a lot of fun. And certainly, and then on top of that, adding the Facebook Live stuff, that's been just completely different. So I'm kind of excited about the direction we're going.
Unfortunately, life makes things evolve, and so I guess we have to get out of our cave and occasionally let people see you and have the interaction that we're looking for. We've had a nice turnout of Georgia Tech fans here, and we were able to convince one to come over here and be our first Buffalo Cafe Wingman of the Week. And we've got Mike Hickman here. Mike, where do you live?
Cumming, Georgia.
Cumming, Georgia. So this is pretty convenient for you for coming out. Mike and our other fan here that's still with us, they get a free pound of wings courtesy of Buffalo's Cafe in Cumming, Georgia. So we're going to give that to you so I don't forget. And congratulations on that. And you had a question or comment for us this week.
Well, my question is, we know about the running backs, and we've got a stable of them, but the question is, who is going to lead the team in receptions? Is it going to be A-backs, B-backs, receivers? And if it's receivers, who is going to be the guy?
Well, I think based on what we've seen previous years, I think the guy is probably I think I got two good candidates. One of them is going to be Ricky June. He's been wide receiver. He was kind of Justin Thomas's safety net, for lack of a better term. Felt a lot of confidence in him. He's got good size. I think he's done a pretty good job of kind of establishing himself. So that's number one. And then on the A-back side, and it's really going to depend on health, and that's going to be Clinton Lynch. Clinton Lynch averaged something like close to 20 yards per catch last year, and just was an absolute big play machine. So those two guys, I think, if you're looking for who the guy's going to be in the passing game, I would put those two guys out there. Probably June will lead the team in receptions, in my opinion. Brad Stewart, also pretty reliable. But he doesn't quite have the size, but he does have the athleticism. So we'll see what we get from him. But if you're asking me who that guy's going to be, I think it's going to be Ricky June.
All right. And, Mike, before you go back to your front row seat over there, you're with the Alpharetta West Lanier Club. Tell us more about that.
Network. So some group of us got together probably in 2004 or 5 and formed the West Lanier Georgia Tech Club.
Okay.
The Alumni Association is our parent group, and they changed that over to the network.
Okay.
And we were fortunate to have a lady named Kay Litzinger, who unfortunately lost her son in a car accident, a Tech graduate, named Daniel. And we put together a golf tournament that Bobby Cox, the former Braves manager, helped us with for 7 years. And so we raised $190,000 for scholarships for this area, and now we give 7 $1,000 scholarships, and probably can go to 11 or 12 scholarships in perpetuity because of that. And so we've had some, you name the stars that played in that tournament. It was a celebrity golf tournament. We had Andre.
By the way, I played in that tournament too.
He did well. Jonathan was. Played is the right word? Participated.
You were in it.
We're going to give you a participation.
I get a participation trophy.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
Thank you.
But Andrew Jones and Steve Bartkowski and Who else would?
Didn't Mike Ken play once?
Mike Ken played in there. Big John Davis, the refrigerator mover, played for us as well.
There was offensive lineman out of Auburn that played for the 49ers. His name is escaping me because I played with him one round.
Okay.
Trying to think, there was a few others too.
Had some great track stars, and
Rick Strong.
Rick Strong played with us. Yep, the former
like a lot of stuff.
Co-voice of the Jackets.
Alpharetta Wesleyan Network, and we're putting the burden on you since you're kind of the host network to help us get a nice crowd of Georgia Tech fans when we do the show on Sundays at 5:30 at Buffalo's Cafe Cumming, except for next week because Georgia Tech plays on Monday. We're going to have to do the show on a Tuesday. All right, Jonathan, before we say adieu, Tennessee is the opponent. It's the only college football game on Labor Day night. What do the Jackets need to do to come away with the win?
Well, I think the first thing is hang on to the ball, and if they can not force the turnovers. Last year, Virginia Tech jumped out pretty big on Tennessee, and then proceeded to turn the ball over 5 times, and then Tennessee basically put a whooping on them. I think the final was 45-24, something like that. After they were up, I think it was 14-0. So Tech needs to hang on to the ball, no fumbles, and avoid the really stupid mistakes. No chop blocks. Don't take any big losses on the front. And then on the defensive side, I think they need to probably get some good pressure on the quarterback. It's something we struggled with. They got a new quarterback. If they can get him a little jumpy, I think it'll pay some dividends in terms of turnovers.
All right, Mike, what are you looking for in this game against Tennessee?
Well, I looked at last year. I looked at the fact that Tech and Tennessee both played Kentucky, Georgia, and Vanderbilt. And if you look at the number, and Virginia Tech, I think it was actually.
Yep.
And so looking at those numbers, it ought to be a pretty even game.
Yep, it was. We beat Virginia Tech 30-20. They beat them by 21. Both games were really kind of out of hand, pretty much going to the fourth.
Actually, Vanderbilt beat Tennessee.
That's true. So we might have the upper hand on that one.
Yeah. I love this game because, of course, for many, many decades, these two teams played each other, even outside of the SEC back in the 80s and 70s. So that's kind of a neat thing about this game.
And I was actually at the last game we played against them, and that was back in 87. I believe we lost 29-15, and it was pretty much not as close as the score indicated. Georgia Tech really got their butt handed to them. And the year before, they beat them 14-13 in Grant Field when I don't remember which Reve's brother, it might have been Fuad, slipped on the turf and pushed his field goal off the upright back onto the field. And it was a wet night, and Georgia Tech came away 14-13. So I've been at the last two, and the one before that was a 6-6 tie where Revez hit a 60-yarder, I believe it was, or 59-yarder, a ridiculously long field goal to tie the game. And Ted Roof was actually the star of that game. I think he had close to 25 tackles. He was ridiculous.
Man, see, this is why we have Jonathan Leifheit here, the source of all things Georgia Tech. Fans, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And we'll be back here after the Tennessee game with a full recap and a look ahead to the Jacksonville State Gamecocks. Until that time, I'm Jon Rawl alongside Jonathan Leifheit and all of our crowd here at Buffalo's Cafe and Cumming. Thank you so much for listening to BuzzLine from CRM Sports. We'll see you. And, Jonathan, what's the good word?
To hell with Georgia.
All
and
right.
Go Jackets.
Yeah.